What's good, IB Nation? Welcome to another edition of the Irish Breakdown Podcast. I'm Vince, that's Trevor, that's Brian, and we are here for a multitude of reasons, but primarily today we are kicking things off with the commitment of Teddy Jarrad, a 2027 quarterback, and he is now Irish. And so we are going to break it all down for you like we always do, and we're going to tell you why this is a huge pickup for Notre Dame. He's a four-star quarterback, depending on, of course, what outlet you look at. But he's a four-star quarterback. Number
ones
two,
that matter.
I know, right? He's the number 2 quarterback in the 27 class. It's a big pickup for Notre Dame, obviously, and I believe he's the second commitment overall.
Third
commitment overall.
Can't believe you forgot
class.
the long snapper.
I know. Well, he's the only one I remember.
Okay. Number 3 joined Sean Kraft, number 1 long snapper in the country, and also a very talented linebacker in Ellis McGaskin.
Yes. So
Southern.
Yes, which is kind of something we're going to talk about in a minute. But this is a huge pickup for Notre Dame. Got their quarterback in the class. We all know that is kind of the launching point of a class, is to get the quarterback in. This kid has a lot of tools. He's got a lot of talent. I was watching this film earlier today. This is going to be a fun one for Notre Dame, but also one that I'm excited to watch for the next 2 years to see what he kind of brings to the table when he actually gets to Notre Dame.
You want to hear how crazy this is, Vince? You want to know how crazy this is? When Teddy Jarrad arrives at Notre Dame as a true freshman, CJ Carr will be a senior.
CJ Carr will be in the NFL.
He'll be senior eligible.
Right.
But you get my point. That's how crazy recruiting is now. It's like CJ Carr, who's going into his redshirt freshman season, will be a senior when Teddy Jarrad arrives, and Kenny Minchie will be a fifth-year senior in college when Teddy Jarrad arrives. It's crazy how sped up this is, but if you're going to start a class off, man, it's great to start one off with a kid like that's like Teddy Jarrad. We're going to break down his game, the things we like, the things he got to improve on, because he's a sophomore. There's obviously going to be areas to improve upon. But when you can kick a class off with a big-time quarterback, that's a great one. Southern kid. There's just a lot to be excited about. And the other thing, too, guys, is, we'll get into this later as well, but you look at the other hats on the table. Like Notre Dame they're big game hunting, and they're going against the big boys. It's a fun aisle to be shopping down for recruiting, and great way to obviously kick off our Thursday show, man, talking about a commitment from a highly ranked quarterback, a talented quarterback, and guy that's generating a lot of buzz right now.
No doubt about it. And again, this is one that people get excited about, obviously. Even you don't have to be into recruiting to get excited about a quarterback, right? And so Notre Dame gets their quarterback pledge. Now they got to hold on to him for 2.5 years, but that's whatever. But we're gonna talk about what he brings to the table and all that fun stuff, Brian. So I'm gonna throw it to you. This is one of my second favorite part of our commitment shows, is the backstory and kind of how this whole thing went in the 27 class. And I don't know what direction you're going to go in, but the 27 class has been interesting for Notre Dame from a quarterback standpoint.
Oh yeah,
they were very late to the table. Only offered 2 guys.
Offers. They were late with
offers. Right. So I throw it to you for the backstory on how Teddy Jarrad became Irish.
Well, I mean, this is the process right or wrong? People would ask me that all the time. And what Notre Dame did was they were recruiting quarterbacks all along. People think they haven't offered a kid, so they're not talking to him, they're not evaluating him, they're not getting to know the family. No, they're doing all that. They're just
feet up in the corner,
right? Just hanging out. Well, we'll watch film, and then whenever we decide who we like, we'll offer him, start talking to him. That's not what was going on. They were obviously developing these relationships, and that developing relationships was part of the process. And so, Notre Dame goes into the winter. They start evaluating kids. They get kids on campus. Peyton Houston visits, Peter Bork visits, Teddy Jarrad visits. They go then on the road in the spring and see a bunch of these kids. They got to see a lot of them throw live. They're looking at transcripts. They're talking to coaches. They're talking to everybody, trying to get to know, these young men and who they are. And there's a lot of guys on the board. I thought they would offer 4 or 5 guys, and there were 4 or 5 guys, but they just kept not offering people. And you're just like, okay, they're going to offer somebody next week. All right, cool. And then next week goes by, no offer. Oh, we're going to offer somebody next week. No offer, and eventually they don't throw out their first offers until June 21st. And so everybody asked me, is this a good process? And my answer was always kind of like, well, let me know when we, ask me again when we find out who they got, because at the end of the day, the process works if it, is good if it works. And at the end of the day, it worked. Notre Dame ended up offering on June 21st 2 quarterbacks. They offered Teddy Jarrad and Peyton Houston. And we've broken down Peyton Houston before on the show. I absolutely love Peyton Houston. He's a big-time player. He's the more advanced quarterback now, and it's not close. When you look at Teddy Jarrad, what the staff is doing, they're banking on the upside. So there's the high floor guy in Peyton Houston with a lot of arm talent. Then there's the more raw, developmental, high upside kid in Teddy Jarrad, and that's who they offered first. And it essentially came down to, for the staff, we need to get one of those two guys. Because if you didn't get one of those two guys, you're now turning to the next batch of quarterbacks. And it's like, well, we were just kidding. We liked you just as much as those.
That's always my favorite. Yeah.
And so Notre Dame offered those two players, and going into it, they knew they had a somewhat of an outside shot with Peyton Houston, but you have to get into the game. They knew that they had a better shot with Teddy Jarrad, and they looked at it not like, oh, Peyton's here and Teddy's here, or Teddy's here and Peyton's here. It was just kind of like 1A and 1B, and it doesn't matter who's A or who's B. They're both one. You had to get one of those two guys. And so you talk about like, well, did you land a top prospect that position? Yeah, you did, because as long as you got one of Peyton Houston or Teddy Jarrad, you were getting a top quarterback. You were getting a guy that after all the evaluation, Malachi Ziegler coming up to throw on campus, Teddy Jarrad came on campus this summer and threw in front of the staff in a more private workout. And I wish he would have thrown at Irish Invasion, but, schedule didn't work out that way. But you needed to get one of those two, and they did. And just it really connected kind of right away with Teddy Jarrad. And from what I can gather talking to people, I don't think going into this process, the staff thought that Teddy Jarrad is going to be one of the top two guys. Because if you look at his sophomore film, and we'll evaluate, there's some things to like, but there's just better sophomore film out there of other quarterbacks. But the tools were really impressive. The character really popped when they got to know him and his family. But then as you saw him this spring and summer throwing, there was a jump made. And the body, the strength, the arm, the mechanics got better. And that was the thing that kind of rose Teddy above some other guys who maybe had better sophomore film. Was, okay, we love the talent, but it was kind of projecting that talent on, to the next level. He's got 2 years of high school left. By the time we got to the June workouts, it was like, okay, this kid's got legit arm talent. Because like those June throwing sessions were important for the staff. And when they saw Teddy throw live, it was kind of like, okay, like the things we were hoping we would see from him, we're seeing. And that's why him and Peyton Houston were the first two to get offers, and why Teddy kind of rose above a lot of those other guys in contention, like Malachi Ziegler, like Isaiah Abrams, like Peter Bork. And, just the staff just kind of fell in love with him. And I think the other thing they like too is just the fit is really great. I mean, he came from a Christian school. He did transfer, to North Cobb High School. So if you see the logo, his dad, we thought his dad gave it away. His dad it looked like an ND logo on there, but it's NC for North Cobb. He was at North Cobb Christian his first 2 years, so this will be his first year at the public school. So he's trying to challenge himself at either a higher level, which I think is good. But it made a lot of sense for Notre Dame to have these two kids as the quarterback, and you had to land one. So did the process work? Yeah, it worked, because they identified the guys that they liked the most, and they got one of them, and they got him quick. And when they offered guys, it was pretty immediate that Notre Dame was like a top school, like 1A, 1B, 1C. And within a couple weeks after that, it was, okay, Notre Dame is one. And then Teddy decided, you know what, this is where I want to be. So I think that was big. I think that there's a lot of things that played into that. The relationship that Coach Gaduli has been building. Again, Gino Gaduli didn't start building the relationship on June 21st when he offered. This has been going on for months, and I think that relationship really connected. And I think in this instance, doing the offers the way they did kind of impacted Teddy Jarrad. Like, wow, you guys really do want me. Like, me and him are the only guys getting offered. Like all these other quarterbacks, they don't have offers, just me and him, right? You guys like us that much. And I think that mattered. I think that impacted Teddy a lot. And I kind of like that, he wanted to go to a place that truly was like, you're our guy. And Notre Dame was able to sell that on him because of the process. And so I think being at the rival, he was voted the top quarterback at the Rivals camp that had 26 and 27 players at it. There was a lot of Notre Dame guys there. You had two offensive linemen. Javian Osborne was there. Joey O'Brien was there. I think that played a role in it too. And just over time, it pretty quickly realized like Notre Dame's a place to be, despite Ohio State pushing for him, Michigan pushing for him, Georgia pushing for him. And Notre Dame was able to win the deal and go into the South and land a talented quarterback and beat out some big boys to do it.
It's always nice when you watch one of these commitment videos, you know, of the hats and everything. I mean, those are some pretty legit hats that were on the table, Brian. And that, you know, that as a fan, you know, who's been covering Notre Dame football and college football for a long time, it's nice to see Notre Dame win some of these battles against the blue blood teams that are really good at recruiting. I mean, Penn State's really good at recruiting, Ohio State, Georgia, like those are legit schools that were after this kid, and he chose Notre Dame. I mean, that's a big plus. You know, again, we're going to break down the numbers. We're going to talk about all of that, but just from a viewpoint of, okay, what was the offer list like? Who was going after this kid? That makes my heart real happy that he chose the ND hat over those other hats that were on the table. So now he is Irish. He is officially committed. Like I said, the third commitment in the 27 class, first on offense, and he's in the class, Trevor. And so what is the class impact of Teddy Jarrad coming in and claiming he's Irish now?
Yeah, Notre Dame continues to stay hot on the recruiting trail. This is a huge pickup, and we've talked about it already in this show, but I love when quarterbacks are kind of the foundation of your recruiting class. You know, you can go back and think about previous recruiting classes, and CJ Carr was helping build out the 2024 class. We're seeing it right now with Noah Grubbs being a very instrumental piece in helping build out the 25 class. And now that opportunity is in front of Teddy Jarrad as well. I'm sorry, for Noah Grubbs in the 26 class, not the 25 class. But now you're starting to see that Teddy Jarrad has the opportunity in front of him to help now build out what this 2027 class is going to start looking like. And Vince, you talked about perception and what that means to get rivals number 2 quarterback, Georgia's number 5 player in the state in Notre Dame's class. That's going to help down the road with some of these other big name skilled player targets that they're wanting to bring in. You know, when you start thinking about, you know, the Burrells of the world and the Julius Joneses of the world, that's going to help kind of sell what Notre Dame's recruiting class
Grant
is.
Haviland's a big-time tight end from Georgia who's close with Teddy Jarrad. That's another guy that it's going to have an impact with specifically, but yeah, keep going.
No, it's big. It's big for perception. You know, you start talking about what it means to Notre Dame's team specifically. It fits the mold of what Mike Denbrock wants under center at quarterback. He wants somebody that can push the ball down the field vertically. And I know we're still going to continue to have conversations around, but he also had Jaden Daniels who could run and do all this stuff. Agreed. But where was Jaden Daniels the most effective and the most dangerous year he won the Heisman? Pushing the ball down the field. What did he want to do last season the most with a mobile quarterback? He wanted to try to develop Riley into a player that could push the ball down the field. And you're starting to see it. You're starting to see why now the quarterback room looks like the way it does. You see why they're bringing in Noah Grubbs. You saw why they flipped Blake Hebert. And now you see why they're bringing in a player like Teddy Jarrad. We're going to dive into it when it comes into the film. But this is on brand for what Mike Denbrock wants to have in running his offense. Gino Guidugli is also, you know, lock key with him in what their identity of the Notre Dame offense is, who they want their quarterback to be in South Bend for years to come. And the more they keep stacking quarterback classes like this, the farther and farther away that, you know, transfer portal quarterback era for Notre Dame gets further and further back in the rearview mirror. They're truly starting to build something awesome. You mentioned something earlier about Notre Dame going into the South and getting another player from the South. This is, you know, the third one in this class. You know, Sean Kraft was from North Carolina. Ellis McGaskin was from Alabama. Now Teddy Jarrad is from Georgia. Teddy Jarrad is the 7th player from Georgia that Notre Dame has signed since the 2024 class, which I think is huge.
You know, we talk about states that you want to prioritize if you're Notre Dame, and we've talked about Pennsylvania and Texas and North Carolina. Those are states that they're prioritizing more, but Georgia's been one they've really been trying to get more and more into for a while. You know, you got TJ Jones in 2010, you've got Stephon Tuitt in 2011, Tyler Newsome, Kyle Hamilton. This is definitely a state that's been very good to Notre Dame. They haven't gotten a ton of kids, but the kids they've got have been impactful, and that's allowing them to start to get more because you can go say, hey, look, man, look what we did with Stephon Tuitt. You know, look what we did with TJ Jones. He got drafted. Stephon got drafted in the second round. Kyle Hamilton was a first-round draft pick. And when you can have that kind of success, guys, you look at it and say, okay, Tommy Trumbull was a 3rd-round draft pick. He was a 3-star kid they got out of state of Georgia. So you look at it and say, you had a true chat. Yes, thanks, chat. Anthony Knapp, true freshman, starting left tackle from the state of Georgia. So they've been able to start having more and more success because they were able to lay that foundation, and they kind of do it in stretches. Like there's a couple in a year, and they go a couple years not get anybody, then they'd get another guy. But this is definitely a state that Notre Dame, and they got a commitment last year from Isaiah Canyon. They couldn't hold him in the class, but like it's clear that Georgia's a priority state. When you can get a quarterback from that state, big time quarterback, highly ranked quarterback, and reputation wise and all that from that state, it helps big time in that state. And if you look at, but it also, you think about what states border the state of Georgia, right? That's going to have an impact with those players too. So you look at state of Florida. Well, there's a big time kid that we all love in the state of Florida named Julius Jones Jr. that Notre Dame would really like to have in this class. This is one of those things that impacts that. So, I mean, you've got a running back, Corey Hadley, you've offered from Georgia, Grant Haviland at tight end. You've offered KJ Green and David Jacobs, 2 stud defensive ends from the state of Georgia. You've offered Jake Godfrey, a linebacker from the state of Georgia, Kamari Dorsey from the state of Georgia. So there's a lot of those really talented players from the state in 27, and there's some 28 kids that the staff is already talking to that they're looking at. And then, of course, you go Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, those states that border it. It's a big-time pickup regionally in an area where Notre Dame is clearly trying to have more success. You're trying to recruit the state of North Carolina. Well, this kid from Georgia's just another thing that factors into that. So I think this is you talk about how it impacts the class. It impacts the class in a big way in that regard too, guys. I think that's a big part of it. And as we said, when you can land a big-name quarterback to start your class off with, that helps. I mean, look, what class did they have a big time quarterback in who's been locked in, no wavering, nothing? 24 class, that was an elite class. 26 class, that's an elite class. Noah Grubbs has not once wavered. Now, some Notre Dame fans have wavered on him, unfortunately, but he hasn't wavered on Notre Dame. And look what class they're building around him. They had a big time quarterback in the 2025 class, but he was never locked in. Your kids knew. We talked about time, like, why do these receivers visit the same weekend as Deuce? And then, like, right away, they just stop looking at Notre Dame or stop favoring Notre Dame. And you wonder why. And then, like, oh, now we know why. Because Deuce was always, wavering. And that class wasn't as good offensively. I don't think it's not the only reason that was true, but it's not a coincidence that the classes that had a early quarterback ended up being that way. And this is just a huge start to that class. Because, look, guys, they're at the point now where if you want to stay where you are as a top program in college football, you got to stack these classes up year after year after year. Bama didn't have number 1 ranked class one year and then number 15 the next year, number 27 the next, and then up to number 2 and then number 11. They were stacking up big time. And I don't use rankings as a reference. I don't really care what the rankings are. I care about the talent in the class. But my point is Bama wasn't doing this with their recruiting classes. Georgia was stacking classes. Clemson was stacking classes. And Notre Dame was starting to stack classes. And the 27 class nationally is absolutely loaded at some very important positions. And being able to kick your class off with a really talented and productive linebacker from the state of Alabama and Ellis McGaskin that's not getting enough conversation, and now a quarterback from Georgia in Teddy Jarrad is a great way, fellas, to kick this class off, this 2027 class off. It's huge.
So does that mean it's time for my favorite part of the show, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of get there if you want. I mean, there's all these other things we can talk about here, Vince, if you want. But I guess we can watch a little bit of film.
I mean, we're still going to talk about him.
But I think thing too is, like, when I talk about Teddy, right, prepare people for this. There's things I really like about him, and there's things that I need to see him improve upon. You got to remember, and I've had to tell we were talking about this before the show started, you got to remind yourself, and I've had to do this myself, because sometimes I get a little bit like, man, like, what am I thinking about this kid? And you got to remember, this is a sophomore. It's a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tools there, things that he's going to have to work on, and we'll point some of that out. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about, you don't see as much in the highlights. You'll see more in the game film.
Gotcha.
And so there's about 3 or 4 game films that I've been able to watch with him too. But the tools are there.
I will say he set up his film very interestingly. It's the first time I've seen films set up like this. He set it up like with the way, the kind of throws that he makes is one section, it's
Houston kind of did that too. It's like,
Okay.
I wonder like where that's coming from.
Yeah.
But you're correct. It's like, we'll get to it now. But I did think that was interesting.
Yeah,
but
I wanted to prepare people for that because
he's an interesting one because the tools are a lot better than some of the production. I mean, you look at his sophomore season, guys, he passed for 2,647 yards. He claims to have 2,783. I don't think they counted for his state title game, perhaps. Completed 71.8% of his passes, 31 touchdowns, 5 picks. Interestingly, he started as a true freshman at North Cobb Christian and passed for 2,065 yards. He only completed 58 only. I mean, as a true freshman. 58.8% of his passes, had 18 touchdowns and 11 picks. Just in 1 year, from freshman to sophomore, same high school, jumped from 58.8 completion percentage to 71.8. Jumped from 18 touchdowns and 11 picks to 31 touchdowns and 5 picks. So you saw a pretty significant jump just in that 1 year, and I think there's a lot more room for him to go. But I wanted to set that stage here as we do get ready to dive into the film and break down Teddy Jarrad, because as we talked about, fellas, there's a lot of tools to like. And the first thing, if you're someone who puts a lot of emphasis on body type, he is prototypical 6'3 plus. He's already listed at 190, 195, and he's still kind of thin. He's going to be at least 210, 215 when it's all said and done.
He's just a big body. I mean, he towers over a lot of these kids.
He's a little gangly right now, but you can see the frame, guys. You can see the broad shoulders and all that. He's a kid that's willing to throw the ball down the field. You can see kind of the long levers, long-armed kid. I get nervous with long-armed quarterbacks, but he has a really clean throwing motion. It's really quick throwing motion, as you can see there. It's very much a whipping throwing motion. What you also see on this clip, because like this looks like, oh, great highlight. He throws it from the far hash 33 and he throws it to the other 30. That's not that far of a throw, and it kind of hangs. But watch number one, 2 things about that. Number one, he's a freaking sophomore. He's going to get a lot stronger, and that ball is going to jump out. But this first clip is an example of what I'm talking about. And you see it even more so on the game film. There's no push off of his back foot at all. This is an all-arm throw, and he has a bad habit of getting onto that front foot way too quick and not really driving and transitioning that weight from back to front, which is something that is correctable, but it also kind of shows, like, imagine what the arm's going to look like when he finally kind of fixes all that and starts driving in off of things. But he has this habit of really shifting the weight too much to the front foot, which caused the ball to not explode out. But there's other clips, and there's one coming up here in a second where he drives a post route for a touchdown. And you're like, holy moly, that's what I'm talking about. But you see on some of these last 2 clips, guys, he's got some gunslinger to him. He plays outside of the pocket.
And this one right here, there's a kid running wide open over the middle of the field, but he throws it into double coverage.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the kid catches it for a touchdown. He's got some good receivers on his team too, I noticed.
Yeah, but like this play right here, back foot, he's got a one-on-one, throw it up, let his guy. This is the one you're talking about?
Yeah, look at the kid right by the official.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, walk-in touchdown, that would have been an easy one, obviously, but he wants the big one.
He throws it high, he gets the ball up.
Absolutely. It's a great throw. Yeah. It's a great throw.
Yep. But he's got some of that gunslinger to him, Vince, to your point.
Yeah.
And this is another example, fitting the ball into tight windows. Just kind of, hey, I see it and hit it, right? I mean, he's got some of that to his game.
Yeah, he's not afraid.
No, he's got some. He's plays with some swagger, but not that arrogance that makes him make dumb throws. Really nice ball placement here with the back shoulder throw, like what he does there. But you see it, like when he sees it, he lets it rip. I mean, he throws with a lot of conviction, and that's an important thing, fellas. You need quarterbacks that throw with conviction, and Teddy certainly does that. This is an example of what I'm talking about. You can just see this is a really strong-armed throw. There's no lower body in this throw at all.
All arm.
And he just snaps that sucker off in between 3 guys.
Yeah.
And as he gets older, that throw is going to be there more. This is the throw I'd like to see him lead this guy more instead of throwing the back shoulder, but he gets it high and far hash throw. Go ahead,
Well,
Trev.
and that comes into the power transfer conversation that you're having. I think he'd be able to get it out there a little bit more if he was able to drive off of his back foot a little bit more. You see
this
it when
one he does a little bit better, right? Like the example, there's a little bit more push off here. You see that? Like right there, there's just a little bit more of a push off right there. And look at the ball get up and down so much quicker than it did on that other throw. Like watch this throw, how it hangs up. All right. And then watch how the other throw kind of like this one gets up, hangs up a little bit. The last one definitely hung up. And then this one gets up there, gets up and gets down pretty quickly on that back shoulder. And you see them be able to get that just a little bit more zip on the ball. But yes, Trev, the keep going with that weight distribution.
Yeah, I mean, because for anybody that's unfamiliar with it, the reason why you need to drive off your back foot is you can get your hips engaged, and that's where all the torque comes when you generate throwing power. You hear a lot of people talk about strong arm quarterbacks, and it's not just about how physically strong your right arm is. And so there's plays on his highlight tape where you see him. It's more noticeable when he's on the move because he has to throw and drive off of his back foot.
And the ball jumps out of his hand.
Throws, we'll get to it, but some of his throws on the run are like, okay.
Yeah. This is one that I like right here, guys. He can't step into the throw because there's pressure coming, but you see a little bit more of that back foot push off here.
Yep.
Still gets to it, but the ball still kind of jumps out. And there's some other things that this hurts too, in that when you plant too quickly on your front foot, and you see this is a perfect example. This is what I'm talking about. Once he locks that front foot right there, he can't finish with his hips. When you lock that way and he tends to lock too centered, it closes off your hips from really finishing off that throw. And so it hurts his ball placement, especially on throws to the left a little bit. But as I've said before, I said this to a coach, a friend of mine the other day that I just running my thoughts by him, and he completely agreed with me. Is like, I have no problem when a kid has footwork things they got to improve upon. No problem. Because that's the most easily correctable thing that you can do. I get concerned when a kid has throwing motion issues, and I see no throwing motion issues. My only throwing motion complaint with Teddy is he pats the ball right before he throws it. A lot of kids do that. It's correctable. It's also not like a huge thing in college. It'll be more of an issue in the NFL. But I think this is the throw. Yeah, this is a really nice throw here too, guys. And but see, he's a little bit more drive. You see that? He's not leaning forward.
He actually picked up his front foot a little bit.
Yeah.
As opposed to locking it in.
And he snaps it off, and the ball comes out with a lot more velocity.
I will say he gets into a bad habit of throwing off his back foot a lot because he gets a lot of pressure in his face.
Yes.
A lot of pressure. And, maybe that'll change when he goes to the different school and, that kind of stuff. But I think he throws off his back foot a lot because of that.
But I kind of like that, though, Vince, because, if you can do that, I know you're going to be able to play behind a good offensive line.
100%.
Notre Dame.
But you know how you can get into a bad habit, though, when you're just used to having so much pressure in your face. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This one really snaps it off. Like, you see the strong arm there. But even still, watch how that front foot locks him in place, and he can't really finish the throw. You see that? But the ball still snaps off because he's got a really strong arm.
Yeah.
If he can just kind of fix that lower body footwork just a little bit, you're going to see the ball without gaining a single ounce of strength, a single ounce of weight. That ball is just going to jump out even more. And this is on the highlight tape. There's some throws like he threw a seam route in a playoff game that just died on him because of this. But this is where I really like watching this kid play. He doesn't run a lot, but he can run.
Mm-hmm.
There's another play where he takes off running. He's very good. He's a lot like how Kenny Minchie was in high school, where Kenny was a good athlete, but Kenny ran around to buy time to throw. And Teddy does the same thing. For a young kid, especially Vince, does a great job of keeping his eyes downfield.
Yes, the previous play specifically when he throws that touchdown pass.
Yeah,
he throws across his body, which of course you don't like a lot, but he keeps his eyes downfield. He saw a guy come open, he makes the throw. When he could have run, and gotten out of bounds, not getting touched.
Yeah,
but he didn't. Yeah.
As a runner, he's a chain mover. But I love watching this kid throw on the run. Like, look at the juice that comes out of the ball, his hand on this one, because he's got to throw. He's got to throw with some juice. He's got to get his core into the throw, and the ball it really explodes out when he does that. Nice. He's a chain mover as a runner, but he's a good athlete. You can see it here. Look at the, buying time. He's not heavy-footed in the pocket. He stays loose. There's no panic here. He sees the rush. He feels it. Okay, let me find my way out of here. But look at him. His eyes downfield. Let me find somebody, get the ball out, complete a pass. Like, that's good stuff right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's real good stuff right there. And he brings that ability. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Finds a guy behind him, sees the defense, knows he's got a guy coming open, and then just snaps the ball off down the field. Like, this is when you really see the arm strength. And when he throws in rhythm also, he'll drive off that back foot a little bit more, and the ball will pop out. This is where you kind of see good open field runner, guys. Not going to be Riley Leonard, not going to be Kenny Minchie. But as far as athletic pocket passer, he's absolutely an athletic pocket passer. And he'll be able to do things like this. This translates to the next level. This ability to buy time, protect the ball a little bit, son.
Yeah,
you move.
Yeah,
let that ball hang out a little bit. But look at this throw. Like, that's a hose, guys. Like, this is an absolute hose.
Yeah.
Getting that ball down the field. That's one of those ones, like, will that translate as much to the next level? Maybe, maybe not, but it does show off the arm strength. Able to get the corner here, pick up some positive yards. But, yeah, the guy, when he's moving around, he's dangerous because he keeps his eyes down the field. Love it. Yep,
absolutely. And it'll come with time. You brought it up. Just two hands on the football when you're maneuvering the pocket.
Right. He's a sophomore, guys. Yep. Sophomore film. It still bewilders me that I'm like, man, I'm evaluating a sophomore. I got to remind myself of that.
Yeah, but like, get used to it.
This stuff translates. College DBs make these mistakes too. They see a quarterback running, they're gonna come up because he looks like he's running a little bit there. Sure. He's not like going like this. Guy comes up, boom, right over top of him. That's what I talk about. You talk about playmaker, like playing a little bit of street ball. That's street ball right there.
Yeah.
And what I like about Teddy is he does have some street ball in him. This is a rope. That is a rope.
Yeah. There's a couple here in a row, I think, if I'm not mistaken,
and his shoulders are square to the sideline, guys. Like, think about that. You always say, get outside, square your shoulders to the line of scrimmage. That's how you teach it. His shoulders are square to the referee right there. And he just snaps this thing off. But because
he's small window too.
Right. But because he's running, he naturally has to use his core more. And that ball explodes out of his hand downfield, 25-yard line to the end zone. That's where you see the arm strength. This is another one. This is a freaking rope that he throws right from the 50 to the 15. That's a 35-yard rope. And he flicks it because now his core has to be involved because he's on the run. If he can translate that to his pocket throwing, fellas, his arm talent is going to explode.
Yeah.
And that's why I say right now, he's not as good as Peyton Houston is today. This is a perfect example right here, what I'm talking about.
Dies.
Right? See that front foot? Right? He locks way too soon on that front foot. There's no push off the back foot, and the ball just drives right into the ground because he's fighting his upper body, and it just dies. Okay? So that's an area of improvement. Today, who's the better quarterback today? Peyton Houston is the better quarterback today. But who's going to be the better quarterback in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? That's what Notre Dame is banking on Teddy Jarrad because the tools are outstanding. This is a great throw.
These play action throws are great.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a rope.
Well, yeah, and you see the zip. He's on the move. He's able to plant off of his back foot and go.
He sells play action really well also.
Yep.
Like, it looks like he's going to hand the ball off. He doesn't rush out of it. Good sell, gets his eyes around, turns around, gets his eyes around.
Look at that
throw.
This is a cannon. Look at that throw, man.
Like, this is where he's most from the 36-yard line, middle of the field on a
goal line
corner route on a line.
I mean, that's my favorite throw. Right
when I was a junior in high school, I could make a throw from the 35-yard line to the end zone on a corner route. I could make that throw in high school, but it wasn't going to look like that. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't going to be like a whoom. My ball was about to be the top of the goalposts and come down. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was going to have to go way up there and come down. He's throwing these with, like, they're getting up and down quick.
Yes.
They get up and down in a hurry. And the reason that matters is because if I was making that throw in high school, yeah, my guy's going to be there to catch it. But you know who else is going to have a shot to be there?
That
corner is going to have a shot to get up underneath there. The safety is going to have time to get over. the way he throws, just ripping that ball off the way he does, that sucker gets up and down. Unless you're already in coverage, you have no chance.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. And, he understands ball placement, consistency with ball placement, something he's got to worry about. And highlight films, it looks fine. But when you watch game film, you see that there's definitely some things to work on. Here's another example where if you kind of watch him throw, he gets a little too much onto that front foot, and you see how he's not able to complete the throwing motion, and the ball it's just a second behind or a step behind. Ends up working out there, but that's something he's going to have to work on. This is a nice ball right here. A little bit more off his back foot. See a little bit better weight distribution here. And almost like when he throws off his back foot, guys, it forces him to drive the ball more. Because he has to be a little bit more off that back foot. Like here, this is another example. A little bit better drive off that back foot. He's throwing off his back foot, like Vince said, but this is a rope. This is a shot. Just bam, 20-yard out like it's nothing. Vince, how many sophomores in high school do you see throw 20-yard outs like it's nothing?
Not around here.
Exactly. And not around a lot of places. But look at this throw. This is a quicker throw, but he's all front foot and it doesn't come out with any zip. See that?
Right.
And it's a step behind.
Right. And it closes it off. It's not an accurate throw. And that's what I say, that can be fixed, though. That can be fixed in one offseason with a good quarterback coach. And I think Notre Dame's got a pretty good quarterback coach. If he can turn Desmond Ridder into a third-round NFL draft pick, he can turn Teddy Jarrad into a top 10 NFL draft pick, okay? The tools are certainly there. I think this is a game winner. This is a playoff game winner here.
Yeah, 6 overtimes.
Yeah, blown coverage, but he sees it, and he gets it out there accurately. Boom, touchdown, ball game. Yeah. He said something to Sean Davis in an interview. He was asking about a game, and he basically said something like, look, I do my job. I go out there and I win. And you're like, okay, he gets it. He understands the objective. It's not like, hey, I'm throwing for 5,000 yards. It's like, look, my job is to win games. However, whatever I got to do to win games, I'm going to win games. And you hear that from him. You're like, okay, I like this kid a little bit. He's got some swagger to him, but he doesn't have that arrogant swagger to him. And that's something I like about it. But as you see, guys, there's a lot his game needs to work on technically from the lower body. If you watch game film, he doesn't go past his first, second read a whole lot. When he reads the defense the best is when he's on the run. That's when you see him scanning. Within the system, the coaches did a nice job of 1-2, bam, get the ball out. And that's why he's got a high completion rate. He's got to improve his ball placement. He's got to improve, his footwork and things like that. But man, the tools are impressive, fellas. The tools are impressive. When that stuff improves, he's going to be a baller. And so a lot of people, you hear my criticisms of he's got to improve this, he's not as good as what Teddy Houston is or Peyton Houston is right now, et cetera, et cetera. That's a fact. I don't think that's even debatable, but Notre Dame is not recruiting quarterbacks based on who's the best sophomore in high school. For them, it's what's the potential, what's the production potential, what's the play potential, what's the leadership potential, what's the skill set gonna look like in 2 years. That's why they loved Teddy Jarrad. Not that he's throwing for 4,500 yards and running for 600 more yards and accounting for 70 touchdowns right now. It's that this kid still has 2 years of high school left. When he's done here and then with some work and some tweak this, tweak that, this kid's going to have a chance to be a really good player. So that's why I say right now, on my system, he's a top 100 player. He's kind of bottom of the top 100 for me right now based on certain things. The upside is 4.5 star, which is that of about a top 50 to 75 player. He's top 50. But if he shows the improvement in the fall that he already started to show this spring and summer at workouts, because I don't change grades because of what a kid does at a camp unless it's specific to athleticism. That's the only time so I adjusted Sullivan Garvin's grade because of what he did at Irish Invasion, because my questions for him were foot quickness and agility, change of direction. So when he answered that, okay, I'll adjust it. But if Teddy does carry what we've seen from him this summer into the fall, he jumps up into that top 50 category and the upside goes up to 5-star. He's got 5-star arm talent. I just need to see the other stuff kind of come along with it and the potential to get there. So there's a lot to like about this kid. And I love the fact that he's transferring to a tougher school football-wise. He's challenging himself. and he didn't go to like IMG or like some bigger private school. He's going to the local public school, and I think it's going to be good for him. He's going to face better players every day in practice. He's going to face better players every Saturday, or every Friday, I should say, and I think it's going to help him become a much better football player. So some of the things that maybe he could get away with at the other place, he won't be able to get away with now, which is a good thing, because that means like, okay, I gotta see it, I gotta adjust it. That's why it's like the point I made about CJ Carr's interception in the spring game. I had no problem with the interception. I want him to see that, hey, that's not a throw you can make, and now it's out of your system and you learn from it, and what could I have done differently, and you move on. So and he's got a little bit of that, he's got a little bit of that, some of that CJ carries himself a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And Teddy's got some of that. You know what I mean? Just watch him talk, you watch him play. He's got a little bit of that swagger that you want, that, hey, I'm really good at this, and I can, it's my job to go get the ball where it needs to get to and make plays and lead this team to wins. And you like to watch the kid play. And thing is, guys, I keep saying it again, if you think that was impressive, wait till you see his footwork improve. Wait till you see him grow into that frame. Wait till you see him start to fill out. Like, he's a good player now, but the tools are that of an elite player. The rank, Rivals jumped him up to number 52. I'm fine with that, because they're basing it off of what he did at a camp. That's okay. I need to see it in game film, but if he does in game film what I think he's going to do based off what we saw on the summer stuff, then his ranking will go up.
So that begs the question, gentlemen, since this is the third commitment in the 27 class, what's next? We like to talk about what's next and all of that. And so what's next after they nailed down their quarterback here?
Well, Trev, you kind of talked about it earlier, man. Like, you're trying to get some studs at receiver in this class. Quentin Burrell and Ted and Julius Jones Jr., and you're still trying to recruit Jameer Brown, who's committed to Ohio State. You'd love to be able to have a shot at Munchin Sales, who right now is not really giving Notre Dame a whole lot of love right now. People think he's an Indiana kid, so that he must like Notre Dame. Not really. He's a kid that is a little bit more focused on some of the Southern schools right now, but there's some big time players it's a really good receiver class. Asani Gales is a talented player that Notre Dame has offered. You've got Khalil Taylor, who's a Penn State commit that Notre Dame has offered. Matthew Gregory, Quentin Burrell. I mentioned Julius Jones Jr. There's some very talented receivers in the class, and it's also a very good tight end class in 2027. Notre Dame had like 6 of their offered tight ends at Irish Invasion. Grant Haviland is a kid that they like a lot. You've got Seneca Driver, Titus Hawk. I want to make sure I don't leave anybody off. Luke Brewer, Jack Brown, Brock Williams from Illinois. Those are all big-time tight ends that the staff is already on. There's some big-time offensive tackles they're already after. Kennedy Brown, who's a 5-star. Mark Matthews they're after. Cameron Wagner from Illinois, just to name a few. And then, of course, there's some big-time running backs. Amir Brown, who I absolutely love, from North Carolina. You talk about Keemon Spell from Pennsylvania, who still – he shut down his recruitment, but he still talks to Notre Dame. So that's obviously a good thing. But that might be a hard one. But if you get Keemon Spell, great. If you get Amir Brown, great. But having him in the class this early, fellas, number one, allows you to start looking at the 28 quarterback class, which is loaded. I don't think they're going to take as long with 28 to offer some kids as they do with 27. But this is hopefully the foundation of landing another elite offensive class, which I think they did in the 26 class. I think they have an elite running back class. I think they have one of the 10 best receiver classes in the country. They have arguably the best tight end class. I think them and Georgia are battling for the number 1 tight end class, in my opinion. I think Notre Dame and A&M are battling for the number 1 running back class in the country. You've obviously got a very talented quarterback in the 26 class as well, in Noah Grubbs. And then, of course, you landed a really good offensive line class. So 26 class, outstanding. Now coming into 27, you need to land another one, just like it, if not better, at certain spots. And that's what getting a kid like this early is going to really help with that. And then getting him and Grubbs back to back also helps too, because kids, Teddy Jarrard's going to be the quarterback for these kids, but they're going to still have an eye on what's ahead of them, what's already there. They'll be watching CJ or Kenny. They'll be watching, Blake Hebert. They'll be watching Oak Grubbs. And then now you've got their quarterback. I think it helps a ton. So when you talk about what's next, it's not so much about quarterback because they've got their quarterback. Now it's about, okay, what impact will landing this quarterback have on the class as a whole? And you hope that landing him, because you landed him around, I think, about a month later than you landed CJ Carr, because I believe CJ committed in June of his end of his sophomore year.
After his sophomore year.
Yeah, CJ committed on, let me find it here. When did CJ commit? Give me a second. I'm going to go to high school. He committed on June 9th is when. So about a little over a month after CJ committed, you get him. And we saw the impact that CJ had on that class.
Big time.
Offensively and defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talked to defensive players talking about how, man, CJ Carr, that's my dude. I mean, guys, I'll just be straight with you. There's a big-time commit that Notre Dame got in the 25 defensive class whose dad told me CJ Carr had a big role in his recruitment. I said, well, did he know? CJ said, no, but we went to practice and watched CJ Carr throwing the ball around, and we're like, yeah, that guy's really freaking good. You know what I mean? Like, they knew who he was, but then, you get to see him in person, and it's like, okay, Notre Dame's quarterback's going to be pretty good. Defensive players care about that too. They don't want to have to feel like we better win 41 to 48, shootouts, every week, or excuse me, opposite for defensive players. We hope we don't have to win 13 to 10, like ugly games every Saturday, but no, we're going to have an offense that can score too. So I think it helps both sides of the ball.
Well, there you have it. So that is the commitment of 2027. It's so weird to say 2027 still. The third commitment of the 27 class, 4-star quarterback out of Kennesaw, Georgia, Teddy Jarrad, makes it official. He's the number 2 quarterback overall, according to Rivals. So it's a big pickup for Notre Dame. They have their quarterback, and let's see what kind of impact he can have on this 27 class. It should be a lot of fun to kind of keep an eye out. And of course, just stay locked in to Irish Breakdown, and we will bring it all to you throughout the rest of the matriculation of the 27 class and what that's going to look like. They have about 25 more commits to go. So should be a lot of fun to keep an eye on this class, but they have their quarterback. Teddy Jarrad is Irish, chose the Irish over big-time schools like Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia. There was a lot of big-time hats on that table, but he picked up the one that had the interlocking ND on it. So good stuff for Notre Dame. Excited about this kid. And, we'll see what happens. Very excited to watch his junior and senior film, that's for sure. But he's raw, but he's got some talent, man. He can sling it. So a lot of fun. Really excited to see how this kid matures and does his thing in high school. But so there you have it. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends, and, of course, jump on the boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com. Brian dropped some major intel yesterday on a bit of the offense going into fall camp, and there's more where that came from. So you're definitely going to want to check that out, but that's only for premium message board subscribers. So you got to get over there at boards.irishbreakdown.com.